did you keep it together and not freak out?
It was quite clear that I was having a different experience than the people I was around.
He's left, he's MAGA, the violence is worse on the left, it's worse on the right. It's like, no, these people are just crazy.
And we have control over our reaction to things.
Somewhere.
Right?
God was just, it was like hermaphroditic entity that was it's the source of existence, right?
How do you live your life now after ayahuasca? All right, it's party people. Welcome to the Off Air Podcast. I'm Slater.
I'm Marjo.
Today we feature Brendan Tomasi. He works for a local plastic company here in town, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about his life-changing experience with ayahuasca.
Yeah, today's episode is a trip. I've literally been waiting to do that since I knew what we were going to talk about. I'm sorry, I just can't help it.
And other psychedelics. We're going to tell you, he's going to tell you exactly what he saw. Is God a man or a woman? We're going to find out.
We talked about masculinity versus femininity and music and...
the fact that he didn't eat meat for a while, now he does. We're going to find out what brought him back.
Yeah, great conversation.
Great conversation, dude. Love this guy.
Yeah.
If you like the content, like and subscribe. We appreciate it. So Brendan Tomasi, is it Tomasi or Tomasi?
Either way works.
Yeah, either way works. Yeah. He's a gentle giant. This guy reached out to us, and normally we're very skeptical about people who reach out to us.
So we just assume we want to be a star with all our millions of viewers.
Yeah. You know, I was like, oh, we got a crazy. I was like, Marjo, we got a crazy person on line one. No, anyway, and you were like, hey, listen, what's up? You know, I watched a couple episodes of the Off Air Podcast, in particular the one with Katie Smeagol and Dana Connor, and you know, I had kind of similar experiences to them, and I want to give my perspective from the male point of view, and I was like, all right, so I put out my feelers, and they were like, nah, he's cool, man. And I was like, all right.
The extent of our vetting research about you was to creep you on social media, find out our mutual friends, and then text said mutual friends, and you pass it, and here you are. So
pass the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like to party hard back in the day, just like I did, and then you had some experiences with ayahuasca.
I mean, Slater's partying hard was like smoking weed and drinking Bud Heavy. Okay,
that was it. But it was like every night for almost 20 years.
Right.
That's long.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe hard in duration, but not in product.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so mine was more focused on a shorter period of time, but higher volume perhaps.
Yeah.
So I chased the blackout for a while, you know, and then it, you know, not really even fully being conscious that it wasn't a sustainable practice.
Yeah.
But being an athlete and then being injured and realizing that I'm not going to be a professional athlete, I was left with that identity crisis, and so, you know, without any real structure, partying was right there waiting for me. And that's what kind of led me down that path. And so I, you know, was a guy who would always bring the funnel to the party and
fill it up again. We're going to do it again.
I'd look up and there'd be people pouring bottles into there and everything.
Ooh, that's
yeah.
Hard liquor in the funnel is a dangerous situation.
Yeah. And so in the course of partying, I, you know, tried mushrooms, and it was quite clear that I was having a different experience than the people I was around. They were playing Mario Kart, and I was having, you know, under the bed having religious experience.
Okay.
And so
you were seeing kaleidoscopes and on the Magical Mystery Tour,
meeting God, you know. And so that turned to, you know, some festivals and opened me up to, you know, LSD and Molly, and again, like, you know, it was very clear that this was novel. I was having new experiences. I didn't feel like I was hallucinating. I felt like I was seeing things more clear, more real. And that led to, I think, 2008, 2009, his friend brought ayahuasca back from Peru, and we did it at his house in New Lebanon. And I'm sure you want me to go into the experience, right?
I mean,
I do. Yeah.
Well, sure. Can we pause for one second? Did you feel like your drug use at that time was opening up your mind, or was it very recreational escapism still?
Well, that's
or maybe
interesting.
A little of both.
Yeah, so at the time, I definitely didn't see it as escapism.
Okay.
I saw it as like, you know, I was the life of the party. I mean, there was people in Florida that were, you know, would run into somebody, and my sister would be like, hey, so-and-so ran into my friend in Florida, said they knew you.
They used to party with you or whatever.
Right,
Gotcha.
I mean, we would go from Montreal to Tennessee, just partying, looking for the biggest party. There was a lot of colleges. It was, it wasn't considered alcoholism, although it absolutely it was.
In hindsight, it was. Yeah.
It definitely was escapism. It was, as I said, a void of identity.
Okay.
That was, it was fulfilled. I mean, there was the girls and the party and everything.
Yeah.
So the ayahuasca experience was, I just remember, so it's like a wine. So it's a combination of two plants, one that has dimethyltryptamine in it, DMT, which your body recognizes as a toxin and flushes it out within minutes. But there's only one plant, there may be a few more, but one plant in the entire Amazon that has an MAOI inhibitor, which blocks that from happening. And so there's a constant reuptake.
Okay.
So it lasts a long time, and people are like, "How long did it last?" And I'm like, "Well, I still haven't eaten meat yet." So I still, the lessons have been fully integrated, and last for, So I say the joke is that it lasts forever, right?
Right.
So we drink it, and I, after about 5-10 minutes, I closed my eyes, and I could feel it in my throat chakra, and I could feel it in my belly. And I remember hearing my friends who were drumming walk away. And then you can imagine if your eyes are open, you have the peripheral vision.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I lost peripheral vision, which I could see all around, and essentially left my body. These geometric shapes that I was seeing were larger than what I could, larger than my visual spectrum. And then, do you remember the story of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde?
Yeah.
So there was this painting that he had painted of him that bore all of his aging. And like you can imagine, like if you scraped your knee, like that wound is on the painting and not on you. So like my entire life of suppressed trauma or just struggles and difficulty, suffering, was right in my face. And so I had to confront that. And I can't really explain exactly what that process was like, but I felt that I had achieved the confrontation with it. I'd surpassed it, because then I had felt on the suffering of the world. And that was just, totally overwhelming.
You felt you had taken on the suffering of the world?
Yeah.
So released the suffering that
you personally had experienced.
Were experiencing, but in turn taking on suffering of.
I think it was a process of through. So it was like first, your individual suffering, and then it's like, okay, level up, right? It's like next level. And so that was the suffering of the world. And of course, I don't know the logistics. This was my primary experience, which was, to take a little side quest here. I'd been raised Catholic, and I just couldn't extend I didn't have faith naturally. So I'm in church, and I'm like thinking about all the logistics of it, and I became an atheist, more science-based. And I think what it was is the dogma and the authoritarianism, you have to believe this. It just never jived with me. So I was seeking primary experience. And so that's what, on the ayahuasca and the other psychedelics, like that was that primary experience I was looking for. So taking on the suffering of the world, and I, break through this like chrysanthemum, like this flower. And it's just like this Buddha, like smiling on the world, and
like an actual
like figurative.
Buddha?
You saw that.
It was an
actual.
No, it wasn't visual.
Okay.
The Buddha was not visual, but the crystal chrysanthemum. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Right? It's just like there's not language for it.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I break through, and I open my eyes and realize that my friends are still sitting next to me, who I heard walk away about 5-10 minutes earlier. And so it was me that left. It was what I was left with. And I look over at them, and I said, I just had the most intense experience in my life, and just profusely vomit, which is something you're supposed to do.
Yes, I was going to ask you about the vomiting.
Yeah.
So that's strictly chemical, obviously, within the body.
Yeah.
Like you don't puke from like realizations. You puke from the physical poison that is ayahuasca. Yes.
Yeah.
Medicine, we call it, but
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So coming out of that experience, but then there's like, about 8 hours of.
How old were you? This is your
like
mid-20s? Early 20s. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you keep it together and not freak out?
release control.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
How do you do that?
Maybe
so
that's why I
control,
always think I'm going to freak out when I do it is because I can't release control.
Like you had the wherewithal to sort of realize that you were feeling the effects of ayahuasca. You were prepped for. I mean, I guess you had experiences with other psychedelics before that.
Yeah.
And so you were ready to like, okay, here it comes. I'm going to release control. Yeah,
it's a submission. I think the thing to realize is that the control is secondary. You don't actually have control. I mean, there's a very thin veil between us and the worst day of our lives, right?
Control, right.
Well, we have control over our reaction to things.
Somewhat, right? Somewhat. Do we?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't always
fight
or freeze.
Yeah.
Remember the things we learned this morning? Yeah, the three.
The old animal brain, right?
Yeah, that's true. I guess that is true.
Yeah, and it's there to protect us, right?
Yeah.
So spending time with those different parts of us that we can't control. Why did I act that way? Right? It's part of introspection that maybe leading up to that I was more prepared for, but I think that it's all within our grasp. Ultimately, though, I come back to say that as I don't care how high somebody gets on ayahuasca or anything else, it's really about the integration. Your next 24 hours, your next week, what are you doing? Are you still going back to your same shitty job or your same shitty friends? And for me, I was prepared to start hunting then, as Slater and I talked about, but I realized that it was actually the harm that I was against. So then I knew that going vegetarian was the only option for me. But other than that, my friends group gradually changed. It wasn't like I'm cutting these friends off. I didn't feel like I had to do that.
Just naturally as you changed the people. Yeah.
I'd met more people that were interested in other things. And,
So that particular day of using ayahuasca was life-changing. That was a pivot point. Like you were never the same after that.
Correct, yeah.
And again, I know I kind of asked you this before. You were looking for, you wanted that to happen or it was serendipitous or a little of both?
It's got to be a little bit of both because...
I don't think you do ayahuasca unless you want that experience, right?
You're seeking something, right? Yeah. But even among people who've done it, it's not like it's a guaranteed... result. So there's people, so I do a little psychedelic guiding myself, and people are just so desperate to have this experience, so desperate to be seen and to have that primary experience of God or a higher power. And, it's like, well, what if that didn't happen? Would you feel like you wasted your time? And some of them say yes. It's like, well, then this is the important question you have to ask yourself. Do you still want to go through this? Because it's not guaranteed. And maybe there are, there's a lot of meditative practices that can produce long-term results. But it takes a long time to get there. So the reasons why I think we're going through a psychedelic renaissance right now is because we don't have any culture of wisdom keepers and elders that prepare us for these times where you're going from one stage in your adolescence to adulthood. And it's just like, find a job and find somebody and, move on. There's no ritual around it. So that's what I don't actively pursue the psychedelic guiding as much because I just want to tell people that we are, it's only because we have this void that we're actually seeking this in the first place. So how else can we do it? So that's why I got into more men's work.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that voids are like hard to come by or ever were hard to come by, but I'm influenced by people like, or I should say I find people like Russell Brand really attractive. Like he was sort of egomaniac, loved the cameras, spent time on MTV. You and I are in radio. Now we're doing a podcast, sort of seeking viewers or popularity or influence in a way, but he recently turned to Christ. That's he really, really eloquently explains that and articulately explains the reason why he landed there. Did you see a God, feel the presence of a God? Do you believe in God? You sort of have the similar story about me growing up Catholic. You grow up Catholic, we're sort of told what to believe. This is what happened. This is the way it is. You don't really sort of take it in. You don't really understand it. And then you go atheist. Like I went atheist, drank, all the while seeking that, what sort of you experience. So how did the divine?
Yeah, so the full trajectory summed up would be, Catholic by belief and not really ever, feeling it, to atheist, to agnostic, closed-minded, being like, there's probably not a God, but I don't have any experience. So you're just kind of going off of what you know. And then there was a switch there where it was like agnostic but open, where I was like, okay, well, the seeking kind of got the better of me, and I was like, okay, well, what else is there out there? And I think that my first mushroom trip was, or psychedelics is what really helped solidify that for me, because it was more of a primary experience. So then my spiritual, I went to Buddhism, Zen, Tao, and Tantra, went down that route. And then with the ayahuasca, it was more indigenous shamanism. So it was like Eastern traditions. There's, just broken up little tribes that are what's left, of the indigenous cultures. Seeing God was so I had an experience on acid in Mali at a club in New York. A Spangle concert. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but
no.
It's great. It's great. But it was just, God was just, it was like hermaphroditic entity that was it's the source of existence, right? Yeah. The source that sustains exists. It continues to exist throughout. I'm one of those people, where you could say it's like a God of the gaps fallacy, but it's like, what else is worthy of being considered God unless it's absolutely everything? So it was like this hermaphrodite where it was like, how else could male or female, and then which is representative of every duality, up, down, as above as so below is a Hermetic tradition, hot, cold, all this relativity, duality comes from a single source. And it's so you think of like, even the Big Bang, it wasn't one thing that added another thing to it. There was no other thing to add to it.
It just sort of expanded.
Well, it divided. So you have one thing, it divides, it divides, and now you have two, and now you have a third thing with the interaction between the two. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's
you have one thing. It divides.
Now you have two. Now these two, like that, so that you have male and female. Now they interact. Now you have a third. You have a child. Yes. Right.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's a holonic, which means it's like a macrocosm, microcosm, all the way up, all the way down. It scales.
So you felt the presence of this hermaphroditic divine.
Yeah.
Definitely identifiable as such.
Well, what was interesting,
or like it felt like it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. What are you seeing when you see God? It's in literally everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not one thing. But what's funny is that when I had that experience, I kind of tapped back into my body and went to listening. And there was a song called Around the World in the Tea Days, presumably mushroom tea. And there's this Eastern, she's actually an English woman who's singing this prayer about the Mama Ganges. The Ganges River in India is like they see it as their mother because it provides for them. And then over that, this Russian like Orthodox opera singer comes in and starts doing a Christian prayer about the Virgin Mary. So Virgin Mary literally translates to pure water, and so this East and West duality, is coming over. So, and I always think of the Eastern spirituality as more feminine, and the Western world more science-based, more masculine. Mm-hmm. So, so you have like exactly the experience I just had. I come back into my body, and it's being presented in front of me, which is maybe a little more synchronistic than causal. But
are all these kind of realizations in real time, or is a lot of this retrospective after a journey?
It's in real time.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after, so the integration part of it is me doubting everything that happened.
Sure.
And me just being like, it's just in my head. It's just, you know. Yeah. And I think that's an important part of that integration process.
Yeah. But that doubt didn't suit, like, you were able to kind of
suspend the disbelief.
Yeah,
exactly.
Were you ever at odds with family members who you told went through this experience, or did they fight you and say, listen, did you ever try to convince people, or did you just sort of let it be? I
think early on, I think that you become a little evangelical once you have an experience like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was more promoting, let's give mushrooms to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Really bad idea.
Why is that bad?
I mean, I think biochemistry,
Yeah.
just plain and simple, there's probably half the population that it just would not have a positive impact on.
Right.
And then what does that do? Is like, so you start recommending everyone does mushrooms, someone has a bad experience, and now they're telling all their friends about that is bad.
Totally. Totally. That's why I was never, that's why psychedelics always made me personally nervous, is I would hear stories about bad trips, and then I'm like, well, I know if I do it, that's going to happen to me. And mindset is such a big, important part.
And there you go, right?
Right, exactly. It's a mindset going into anything, even just psychedelics for recreation, not so much, I don't know if soul searching, but not for healing purposes, I guess, just to get fucked up, essentially. Yeah. If you go into it with that mindset that you're going to have a bad trip, chances are you're probably right. I mean, at least that's what I've been told.
Sure. I mean, and there's time in between the decision that you're going to have a bad trip and the time that it kicks in that can change as well.
But undeniably, if the world, or at least half the world, had your experience, would it be a better place?
Yes. That's a tough question, but my instinct was yes.
Right. Like your experience with it changed you for the better, for the calmer.
Everyone in my life benefited from it.
Right. And that if you individually are a better person in a better place, in theory, you're going to be better for society in general, right?
Yeah.
Now, when I look at you, you look to me like a guy that I wouldn't want to get into a bar fight with. Like, I'm sure, tell me you've heard this before.
I think that's a compliment.
Yeah. And
like, you just look like a tough dude, you know.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because of being gentle. It's like I have the power, but I don't use
There's
it.
There's some duality
in that
there.
way. Exactly. Harnessing the duality, transcending the duality.
Yeah.
So, like, were you ever like that? Like, when you partied and blacked out and went to parties, like, did you want to get go out with the most amount of chicks and fight with other guys?
No, I never got into fights. I mean, there was fights around. I mean, I remember brawls. I mean, I could go on and on about different brawl stories, but I was never one to. I wasn't one to start them. Yeah. I wasn't one to I didn't want to hurt anybody. Yeah. Even then. Yeah. And younger, I was more afraid of my father coming home saying I got into a fight than anybody on the playground. Yeah. So but certainly having, and I was 30 pounds heavier at least towards the end of college, freshman 15. But kept going. But having the power and the ability to break up fights was something I kind of had pride in. Bullying bullies was
love it. Love it.
Had to get it out somewhere, and that was still like adolescent, but that was that was kind of the path that I took.
Did you end up? It seems like you're super knowledgeable about the history and the I don't know if heritage is the right word, but the history behind ayahuasca use and psychedelic use in general. Is that something you had always been interested in? How did you learn all of this? I mean, is it just the internet? Did you travel and talk with shamans? And tell us about how you gained all this knowledge.
A combination of all that. I did. So the shaman that I visited was a Dagara shaman, which is in Africa. And he's known for... if you ever looked up like what a shaman sees in a mental hospital or something like that, like he wrote that's articles about him, even though the picture's often an Amazonian shaman, which is kind of funny. But and he was right over the border in New York. I mean, Cherry Plain, which is kind of ironic.
Did you ever question the legitimacy of this person or no? Because maybe this is something that's wrong with me, but like I always second guess people's. Like anybody can say that they are A, B, C, and D, right? Yeah.
No, I think you can't accept or reject them at face value. You have to do some investigative work. And I think my, background in philosophy is in that doubting that's like, doubting Thomas and from the Bible was often thought of as like kind of, you don't want to doubt. Like you want to just accept faith or, have faith automatically. Mm-hmm. Like that was
absolutely.
But I always related more to doubting Thomas, where like I'm gonna strip this down to its bare elements, and so I can doubt them. I think there's a lot of grifters that give authentic mediums, shamans, etc. bad name. How do you know? That's the question. It's something that you don't have to actually come to a conclusion on.
Sure.
It's so to be able to rest in that suspension of not knowing and just continue exploring. If it feels good, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it.
Right.
But sometimes you have to outweigh. And right now it doesn't feel good, but like, doing shadow work does not feel good. But the long-term positive effects, you have to have that trajectory. You have to be able to see down the road and see that it's going to have be an investment.
Yeah.
Who do you think Jesus was?
He's just really cool dude. I think he was special. Absolutely. Do I believe that he was the unique Son of God? No. I think that he was awakened to, I go to John the Baptist, was also an awakened person who did a lot of traveling and passed a lot of that on. He baptized Jesus, and so John the Baptist was I think. So I want to draw a duality between Christos, which is Christ consciousness, which is oil. So being baptized with oil versus baptized with water.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about the resurrection?
See, I'm less interested in the resurrection. I think that what's important is that, I could say that I died that day, that, there's a part of me that died and was left behind, and I continued going. So that's the resurrection. We have the opportunity to die in every exhale and be born again with every inhale. And as long as if you believe that and take that to heart, your habits no longer become compulsive. And I'm not saying I'm beyond this at all.
No.
But
it doesn't come off that way.
But that you have the opportunity to make a new decision in every moment.
Because that's a fundamental part of Christianity. And I know you're not Christian, but is the resurrection. Like that was the proof.
Yeah.
Like he was no longer in the tomb, according to the Gospels.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I look at the Council of Nicaea and how that came about. It's very contentious, right? I mean, Constantine was not allowed in the mystery schools in the place that in the empire that he ran. So he was his integrity was questioned well before he called the Council of Nicaea. And then they decided what goes in and what is going to get left out. And when they all the priests that were preaching different things all over the area, they came in and they were supposed to bring their relics, and there was something like 7 skulls of John the Baptist to bring him up again, right? Nobody was authentic, but they had to carry this relic to show some sort of authenticity, but there was no DNA testing or anything. So it wasn't until about 200 years after Jesus died that you have Arius saying, maybe we should punish heretics. It's not enough not to believe. We should make this a paradigm of control. And then you have, so there's a lot of contentions within the church and what they determine as the canon. Because I'm more interested in the Gnostic scriptures or the Nag Hammadi. Are you familiar with those? These are vessels that were found with letters in them, or papyrus presumably rolled up that hadn't been touched. Were discovered in the 1950s, and so that had been untouched. Versus something like the King James Bible or another text that has been rewritten. Every time that there's a translation, there's opportunity for interpretation.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Alan Watts.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you would perk up when I said that. He thought that Jesus had achieved collective consciousness. Is that the word?
So to be Christ consciousness, yeah, it would be collective consciousness.
Yeah, where you sort of, I think Marjo, we talked about this before, where you sort of realize you are everything. Like you are not an individual sort of viewing the universe from your own perspective, but you are in fact part of everything. You are everything.
Yeah. So Alan Watts was Taoist, London based, but Taoist, and that perception I think is so useful for people in the Western world because we are so trapped in our bodies and so identified with our bodies and our consciousness. Like this is uniquely mine. And you can just see, in traffic, it's like everyone's got their own vehicle. There's no, even the idea of public transit around here is a tough one. So to adopt just play on, I think of it as like trying on an outfit. You try on Taoism and it's just, everything's about flow of nature and just, you are just a speck in the pale blue dot, right? Or in the entire universe. So that is a practice of surrendering that control that we were talking about earlier, right? And I think it's just very useful to, I'm not saying you have to leave that costume on, but just to try it out, see how it fits, and then balance the two. Again, you don't have to commit or keep any of these ideologies. You can play with them and see if there's, you can go the buffet route too.
Yeah. Do you identify with a certain religious group?
No.
Okay.
No. But I mean, again, I've tried, I relate more to the esoteric tradition. So Kabbalah instead of Judaism, Gnosticism, Neoplatonism, Hermeticism, as opposed to Christianity. And even like Greek religion and the old religions of the world are just very fascinating, very relatable. And I view them through the lens of like a Jungian archetype. So different psychological projections that are embodied and then they have their own personality. Just like there's you can say a person inside you that gets upset really easily. And like, what is that ego? We call it ego now, right? Mm-hmm. What is that ego doing for us, or what is its purpose? Why is it here? And why is it always taking the front seat in these certain situations? Yeah.
Marjo said when we first walked into the studio, "Oh, you're going full on cross out now." So I just started wearing this because I'm starting to read the New Testament and the Bible. Have been going to or have been seeking church and seeking Christ. But the real reason why I wear this is because this reminds me of to be humble and to and to let sort of ego.
But you have it out of your shirt for a certain reason. That's not to remind you if you're wearing it. You know what I mean?
Well, I wear it outside of a t-shirt, yeah, but not like I wouldn't wear it outside of like a sweatshirt.
Got ya.
Yeah. But like when I first started wearing it, I wore it to the gym the other day, and I tucked it in my shirt before I walked in the door. Did we have this conversation? No, we did not. Like because I felt awkward. And I immediately went like this and walked into the gym because I was scared.
Well, that's what I mean. Feeling? But if it was personal to you, you wouldn't need to display it to other people.
Yeah. What was the awkward feeling?
Well, because I had never worn one before, and this makes a statement. And Charlie Kirk just got shot. All of that stuff was sort of circulating around.
I also don't think it crosses, especially jewelry crosses, automatically indicate somebody's religion. I mean, it does 1,000 examples.
It does not. No, it's a fashion piece for some. It is some. It's deeply inherently
like
religious.
Everyone wearing a Jesus piece probably isn't Catholic, or even religious.
Probably not. No, but
so you're self-conscious. Would you say that?
Well, I was for one day, and then I saw some dude in the locker room, and he was just blasting across a crucifix. I was like, "Oh, well, that's pretty stupid." Like, and I immediately just yanked it out and started wearing it. And I really do like that. I've wanted one for some time now, and because I'm not really, I don't wear rings. I don't have earrings. I don't have.
You're just not a jewelry guy.
I don't have a tattoo. So. I don't have a timepiece. I don't have anything. Like my father wasn't that guy, but. Anyway, I just thought I would bring it up because Marjo had mentioned it before the.
Well, you're also just not a jewelry person, and it's a large piece of jewelry. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I do like it. It was a gift from my fiance. Changing subjects. How do you live your life now after ayahuasca? You don't eat meat.
Yeah,
because you don't want to cause animals harm.
Yeah, and that was something that happened immediately after. So, full disclosure, in the last year, since becoming sober, I did start eating meat. My wife and we go up to Vermont and we buy half a cow and we do a little drug deal when we get back. Family and stuff, people come and stuff. I was more focused, like I guess becoming 40, like I shifting my focus to like, well, what's good for my body? Does it feel good for me? And also there's just a part of me that doesn't like to write off anything, or I don't want to be fully consumed by something, but I also don't want to write it off completely either. Certainly there's extremes, but that I don't play with. But so eating meat was something I have introduced just very rarely, but there's been no consequence of it. But
and if you're, sorry to cut you off, but if if the root of it is about causing harm to other living animals, living creatures, knowing how the animal was raised and treated, I feel like, and I have no stake in this, but like that just makes me feel better.
Steak.
If I know, no pun intended. Like I just feel better if I know if I'm eating meat that was humanely raised, which I guess is ironic because it's being slaughtered for your consumption at the end anyway. But it just makes me feel a little bit better than something that was tortured its entire life and chained to it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Does that cross your?
Absolutely, it does matter, but ultimately, we wouldn't, raise your child to like, give it everything that it wanted, and then
Just
at 21,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I would, there's a lot of arguments that I would have that, again, I was never really like Moby or, like being like really outspoken about it. It was more
A personal thing.
Yeah, personal.
Like the techno guy?
Yeah.
Moby?
Oh yeah, he's got huge vegan tattoos, and everything.
I thought you rolled over a word. I was like, did you just say Moby?
Yeah.
Like Moby, you're too old. Nobody listens to techno.
Yes. So I didn't. I guess I internalized the pain of the animals, and I just saw tried seeing it from like their point of view, and not their point of view, but their experience.
Yeah.
And we're eating a cheeseburger while petting our golden retriever. Just saw that as maybe being a little hypocritical. And these are my more extreme
Like those
views,
PETA billboards
right?
that say "Where's the line?" and it has all the animals. I'm usually like, "This is the line for me," but no, I don't mean to. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you didn't eat meat for a period, but now you do.
For about 20 years, I did not.
Oh,
so it was like,
wow,
almost that long.
And you recently went back because you felt your body needed the nutrients?
I don't have a good reason why I started, really.
Well, I love that answer, to be honest with you, because sometimes we do things and we're not quite sure why. But
Yeah.
Well, what was
my best guess?
What was the moment?
Yeah, so I think I was, we were getting Chinese food, and I usually would get the General Tso's tofu or bean curd.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of just like, this isn't good for me. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I might as well eat the General Tso's chicken, and that was my reintroduction.
Chinese food.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Dude, my reintroduction to meat was Chinese
that,
food.
by the way.
Yeah,
on Tyler Street.
That's great. That's really funny. You have two children.
Yep.
Raised them vegetarian as well. Just
no.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah, my wife.
I'm always curious about that. And most of my friends who are vegetarians or vegan and have kids, they're like, we kind of let them pick. And usually kids mimic what their parents do.
Yeah.
So, or if it's just not around, then they kind of.
Yeah, we're light in the meat department anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So even though like we buy the cow and we eat that throughout the year, but the kids love cheeseburgers and.
Right. If your kids are going to a birthday party and they're making hot dogs and hamburgers, you know what I mean? There's not always tofu dogs available or garden burgers available.
Yeah.
But.
Is your wife vegetarian?
No, she was when I started. She also started, and then when she became pregnant, like her body needed.
Yeah.
I remember actually her pulling the knife on me. I was like, well, you're making this decision, but the fetus inside you isn't making this decision to consume this suffering.
That's funny.
She got a knife pulled on me, but
don't fuck with a pregnant woman.
That's right,
man.
Especially when it comes to her food. Today's episode of Off Air with Slater and Marjo is brought to you by Berkshire Adventures. Berkshire Adventure Tours, e-bike tours, picturesque picnics, private e-bike rides, Cloud9 seats, hidden gems, and scenic picnics. I did one of these the other day. Can't recommend it enough. Great local guide here in the Berkshires. So BerkshireAdventureTours.com. You can find them on social media. I listened to a podcast a little while ago, and the host was talking about her experience with Bufo.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the toad...
Yeah.
kind of does your interest kind of span, is it just ayahuasca or is it kind of all?
No, I mean, I do know a guy locally, but
yeah.
but no, I haven't done so that's different. So that's
this was very much for trauma healing as well. I guess I should say that.
Yeah,
veterans.
Is it a
plant?
No, it's like the oil.
It's toad venom.
Yeah, there you go. See, he knows.
They pop a blister, like the sacs on the toad, onto like a piece of glass, and they scrape off the shards. And
that's boofing?
Bufo.
Oh,
No, that's different.
That's definitely different. It's later.
All right.
Oh boy.
Bufo.
That's 2 podcasts in a row, too, when I've done that.
Oh, we unintentionally talk about butt stuff.
That's your butt, right?
Anyway,
your butt.
Bufo is and then it turns into like a hard crystal, and then she smoked that.
Yeah. So there's so the Bufo toad has the 5-MeO DMT, which is different than the DMT found in plants. And the Sonoran desert toad also has it. But the NN-DMT is the plant. And it's in our bodies too.
How do you feel about like, I'm very interested in psychedelics for like trauma treatment. Like I think pharmaceuticals are pushed an insane amount in this country. I think they're super important and have saved people's lives.
Glad they're there.
Correct. But I find it very interesting that there's more legitimacy now to these doctors and researchers saying, hey, like there can be some healing from trauma and from certain mental health conditions or afflictions or whatever. I don't know the proper terminology these days, but how do you feel about them being legalized for that kind of, or being used for that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I didn't want cannabis to be legalized either, but
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why?
Because
It would ruin it?
It did.
You wanted it all for yourself.
It did, didn't it? It did, didn't it? Though, did it not?
Yes or no?
I mean, no. I'm
I
glad
go
there's.
back and forth.
I'm
What do
glad
you mean?
people-
Price-wise?
Price-wise.
Yeah, I'm just
Well, you know, who benefited most from it, right?
Right.
You know,
It was
rich white
this
dudes,
is counterculture thing, and now it's
Yeah. I'm okay with it. I did do compliance, and I guess I'm kind of still help out with some dispensaries, not actively, but yeah, with compliance. So I did. I guess my feeling with the legalization of, I want it to be legalized for use. I just think that there's a big risk that comes with it, with the psychedelics.
a big risk that comes with doing it, or a big risk that comes with legalizing it?
Probably both.
Okay.
The big risk of legalizing it is that, again, it's just rich old white dudes making all the money and just, you know, looking for, it's just another business. Like, I don't think
when it stems from native cultures and gotcha.
Yeah. And then, you know, there's a, you know, there's a part of me that had my doubting part, right? That I didn't do it in ceremony with a traditional, like, native, you know, Amazonian community. I have done sweat lodges, but this was actually traveled, like, in that, even some people would say, oh, no, you didn't really do it. But I can't deny my experience. My experiences were valid. So,
Do you still use marijuana regularly?
no.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, that's right. You're sober.
I'm sober now.
That's right. How many years?
Yeah, but sober,
Just
I
one.
feel like is a different definition to everyone. These
I know.
days.
Yeah.
Zero
Right.
to-
There's Durango sober, which we know what that is from the last podcast.
Our friend was just making a joke that
Yeah.
when this festival happens in Durango, Colorado every year, he does coke once a year. That's Durango sober.
Okay.
You know what I
He
mean?
hasn't
As
drank-
opposed to Cali sober, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was Cali sober when I started, and then I dropped the Cali and just went sober.
Yeah.
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 I did use cannabis at Strange Creek this year. So maybe I'm Strange Creek, Greenfield sober, Strange Creek sober.
Music festival sober.
Greenfield
Well, there's
sober.
a time and a place, right?
Burning Man sober.
Yeah.
Was there a catalyst to you? You said a year you've been sober.
Wait
for?
a minute. It was the Chinese food. It was the weed first, and then it went back to Chinese.
Yeah, this is an interesting subject. So my wife saw this medium who's also an astrologer, which is interesting because you have the mediumship, but now it's time bound, aligned with your astrological signs and everything, placement and everything of what's happening now, you know, and also your own disposition. So what's interesting is it wasn't even my session. So she said that your husband has a demon attached to him, and I'm like, well, tell me more. And so the demon's name was algol, which is the Arabic word for alcohol, which is a star in the constellation of Perseus, and Medusa's head. So I'm like, Medusa's not a. She wasn't evil. She was a gorgon. She was vain, and so she was punished, and that's why, you know, nobody could look at her. She was beautiful, but like was, you know, very vain. And I'm, again, thinking about this through a Jungian perspective. So I'm like, you know, it's not an actual demon. It's a part of myself that I've neglected or suppressed and has been accumulating energy over the years and has rather potent energy. But she said that this has been in my bloodline, my paternal bloodline for generations.
This is a medium telling you this?
This is a medium telling
Telling
his
my
wife
wife
this.
this.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, and so after the session, my wife's like, we got to talk, you know?
Yeah.
But you had been sober at this point.
No.
No.
And
Jeez, I can't follow
To I was drinking like a 4-pack of beer of like good IPAs or something a week. Like it wasn't partying
you weren't getting
mode.
lit every night.
No, and I was smoking more than occasionally. Mm-hmm. I had grown weed, and so I just I still have some, but
did you bring any with you? Or no, I'm just kidding.
I decided to take this seriously without the belief. I didn't have the belief, that this demon was an actual thing.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, you're putting a lot of trust in this person who I don't know your relationship to them or whatever.
Right. I had never met her and never had any,
a lot of faith in what she's saying, I guess.
Right. So this skewering approach of like, well, what is the best iteration of this? What is the most reasonable iteration of this? And what is something I can actually apply? And so I'm thinking like, so if this is traveling through my paternal bloodline, I didn't know my grandfather very well, but my father, I know him pretty well, and I have a son. And I'm like, if if my son sees me drinking, if my son sees me, smoking or something like that, he's going to have questions. It's going to be normalized for him. He's just going to walk right into it. And I never took a break from those things. So I have a 20-something year period of just going back to it. And so I recognize it as a compulsive behavior.
Sure.
And so I just was, me and my wife both committed. She was ready to stop. She hadn't consumed cannabis in probably years before that, but still occasionally, a bottle of wine or something.
Yeah.
So we just agreed together that we would stop. And initially, my sleep really suffered.
Oh yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you weren't doing it, you were smoking weed on a regular basis, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I just realized, like, I just don't know how to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Sleep
is originally why I started to drink. I could just relieve that anxiety. And
sleep is a huge part of my
huge
part of marijuana use for me, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit period where you struggle, but then ultimately sleep gets better and deeper and.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my dreams were very surreal. So I'd wake up and not really know if my dream was a dream or like if I had that real experience. Like I would wake up and I'd have those feelings still active inside me, which was a little challenging.
Well, now that you're a shaman, how do you feel about modern medicine? We touched on antidepressants a little bit. I've been taking Lexapro for probably months after I dropped the cannabis portion of being California sober, so to speak. Ultimately, I'm 45 years old at this point. I'm like, well, and I talked to my doctor. He's like, well, you could take them for the rest of your life. Not really a big deal if it's helping with the intrusive thoughts, obsessive thoughts. But ultimately, I would like to get to a point where I don't need anything.
Yeah.
I find that interesting because if you had like hyperthyroidism, and you had to take a pill every single day for the rest of your life.
Well,
like if we're seriously gonna walk the walk, and everybody says mental health is health, you wouldn't be like, I want to get to the place where I don't have to take my hyperthyroid medication.
Well, your logic is spot on. However, I do flip flop back and forth. I don't know I don't know how I feel about mental health, specifically me. How do you convince someone that you're not crazy,
Well,
You'd have to be crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. You have to trust me.
Yeah. That's a bit of a paradox.
You're right. Yeah. Because sometimes I feel like I'm well.
Because you're on the medication.
Well, even when I was off it.
Yeah.
So I do know when I don't exercise, I feel worse.
Absolutely.
But if I really did commit to a really healthy diet, continued gratitude and prayer, and exercise on a regular basis, would I need to be on antidepressants?
Do you have an answer for that?
Yes.
Can you help me?
No, it is a lot more complicated than the toxins in the air. If you go back through.
Now we're getting in it. We're going to be talking about
if you look at napalm to glyphosate. It's
Roundup, baby.
Yeah. It's so hard. I'm not the doctor. You should see Mark Hyman or something like that.
Mark
Get him on
Hyman,
he's a local guy.
Yeah, he is.
Um,
Lennox.
Yeah.
Or Greg Barrington or something.
Yeah, I think it's Lennox, but I don't know.
Somewhere rich.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Sorry.
But no, he's doing great
Keep
work.
that in.
He's doing great work with, functional medicine, and I believe that everything is one size fits all, right? We're treating symptoms, then we're treating side effects for those symptoms. We're not looking at the root, and
Sure.
That's something that I am optimistic about in terms of, psychedelics can help you change your habits, like it did for me as far as like eating cleaner. And I think I was telling you this when we were chatting on the phone, that you'd think that eliminating meat from your diet would restrict your diet, but actually it increased the variety of my diet, because I had to, now how many different kinds of veggie burgers are there? There's black bean, all the ingredients. So I was eating a lot better. But as far as health goes, I mean, use the entire rainbow. You try to eat seasonally and locally without pesticides, and that's a great place to start. But like then
Slater is the drive-through king. I call him.
Yeah. I had a Dave's double this morning for lunch. Brandon, I'm sorry, I'll let you down.
I don't know what that is.
It's a double cheeseburger from Wendy's.
Yeah. I didn't have
where they know him by his first name.
I didn't have the bread.
You think I'm kidding? I'm dead serious. Well, it's about balance, though. But you also are not.
That's my drug.
You're not ignorant to nutrition. Like you're not delusional, and
I listen.
Everybody's got their thing.
The compulsion.
Ice cream is my jam.
Everyone's got their thing. Everyone, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it every night. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just reality.
Yeah. Do you ever feel? Well, I guess later maybe you asked about this, but like, do you feel judged, or do you think there's still stigma surrounding this? I mean, psychedelics are becoming more mainstream. Like I said, more and more people are, especially, celebrities, or it's just more in pop culture now, I feel like.
Yeah, you got the tech bros going to Burning Man. And,
right. Well,
yes.
Can we, Burning Man? I mean, I feel like Burning Man is turned into the epitome of what Burning Man shouldn't have been.
Exactly.
Have you been to Burning Man?
No.
Okay. But you are a festival person, right?
Yeah. I mean,
is that fair to say?
I'm not a festival person for festival people, right?
Okay.
I'm not a wook. Like,
I don't know what any of this. When in high school, when people are going to Berkfest, I was like, I'll see you guys Monday. Okay.
Berkfest,
like I'm not I've never.
Did you boof?
I've never been to a festival. It's not really like my scene. But anyway, that's besides the point.
Music is medicine as well, and it's
one
of the oldest.
It's not the music that deters me. It's the not showering and the camping and the.
That all adds to it. I mean, at the experience of it, I remember, Camp Bisco, and there being a stream, the storms and everything going on, this stream going under people's tents and everything. It's intense.
I will say, as I get older, though, I am more open to it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I like doing that kind of stuff, but then I like a nice cozy bed at the end of the night. Anyway, it's not about me.
Yeah.
Were we talking about Burning Man, or were we talking about your experience with festivals?
So to say that I'm not a festival person to festival people, like for people actually get really involved in, like, they're traveling from festival to festival to festival.
Yeah.
I went to Strange Creek this year, and that was it. I love music. I don't find myself traveling as much for music, but I, through the course of 20 years of doing it, I've been to my fair share.
But never to Burning Man. Is there a particular reason why, or you just never travel?
Well, I think by the time I really caught on to Burning Man, it was already seeing that it was not what it was intended to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a mourning process, a grieving process.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. They build up this. The guy got a divorce or something, and build up this massive structure, and then burn it all down.
Yeah.
As a way to reincarnate within this life.
There are some really great Burning Man documentaries. Really
I had heard about it in the 2000s. A buddy I had sold cars with, he was, super hippie, and he was like, I'm going to Burning Man. I'm like, what the hell is Burning Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very pretentious.
Yes.
What music are you into?
Oh man, that's tough. So I mean,
I like everything.
Yeah, well, so you can say that, but then it's like immediately you get into it. I don't like pop music very much, but it's funny because my daughter is into Taylor Swift. I'm like, I like that song.
Do you not like current pop music, or have you never liked pop music? Like, do you like 90s pop music?
I'm enjoying it more now than I did then.
Gotcha.
But Incubus was one of my favorite bands back then.
Sure.
I got back into them. Early Incubus.
Oh, man, that's great.
Yeah.
Brandon Boyd.
Yeah.
Because your name's Brandon, is that why? Do you like them?
I don't know. But I started out young listening to like Jim Croce. Do you know him?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It was an easy segue into rap music from there because it was like, Rapid Roy, the stock car boy, and he's just telling these stories. So I got into hip hop and, I remember listening to Nazareth, Love Hurts. And that was like my introduction and Aerosmith. I was like, that was like my introduction to my more sensitive side, it was supposed to be really, hard candy shell. And, so, music has always been a great, medicine for me,
Yeah, dude, soft rock is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like Phil Collins, Against All Odds and that stuff.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's so funny how your taste in music
stuff,
change.
dude.
Like, I'll always love what I love, but certainly, again, and I don't know if it's just with age and just opening up your mind to different things, but it's crazy.
Like Steve Perry, Foolish Heart. That stuff is great, dude.
Does your sobriety...
You don't know it? Come on.
Do you want to sing it?
Foolish heart, hear me calling.
Is it 80s?
What
It didn't jog anything for
Okay.
you?
No?
I hear that. Yeah.
I hear that. Does your sobriety include hallucinogenics or ayahuasca? Or do you still do that stuff on a regular basis? Or no?
That's a one time. That's a one and done, right?
Oh, that's interesting because, so I actually did it twice in 1 week. The first time it was that whole experience. And then the second time, I'm not going to say it didn't work, but it was like Alan Watts. Once you get the message, hang up the phone. And I didn't do psychedelics for years after that. And then, I would do maybe a gram or two of mushrooms and it just wouldn't send me. And then, eventually I felt called to do more. And that was, I had more profound experiences. I think it's a great break. I see it now as something that, to kind of reset and to kind of hedonic calendaring. So if you feel like you don't know when the next big, break is, you have all these pressures from, job and family and all these masks that we have to wear, that to have just a time where you can check out from it. But I don't, I don't really feel the need to as much, because if you have it calendared, then you don't feel that pressure to I need a break right now.
Yeah.
I am prescribed alprazolam Xanax for I probably get 2 bottles a year, which is 60 pills at 0.5 milligram, and they're there for emergencies because I had a panic attack 20 years ago and it was profoundly changed my life. Terror, which I never even thought existed. So anyway, there's always a little bottle of Xanax.
In case of emergency, break glass.
Yes, precisely. Yes. But I will tell you that, I obviously am an addict on some level. If I take one on an empty stomach, I'm like, I get pleasure from it, and it's which is such a slippery slope because...
Yeah. Because isn't that the same thing you were seeking with marijuana or alcohol?
Yes.
But
have you done MDMA?
No,
Molly?
No. I've never done anything else, dude. Nothing.
That's why he was at the beginning, he was like, I used to party hard.
Yeah, I'm a partier.
Weed and Coors Light does not. We're talking about, in the words of Bob Saget, you ever suck dick for weed? I don't think so.
And what's interesting is I never did coke. I never went down anything else. Down those different pathways. But ketamine is now getting back to the conversation about legal. You can be prescribed ketamine, and that provides a lot of relief.
Dude, they were doing ketamine therapy on Real Housewives or some trash reality show I was watching on Bravo. I'm like, wow, this is mainstream of mainstream.
Yeah.
That the woman who got arrested and charged in the death of Matthew Perry, ketamine queen or whatever they call her. Yeah. This woman who was supplying ketamine to a ton of Hollywood, I guess.
The point is, I'm not to be trusted with stuff like that. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, it sounds like you are. It sounds like if you have this and you're not overusing it or even using it, you just it's fine to have something, to.
Well, it's just, definitely. I definitely don't overuse it. Definitely. But I found myself saying last week, not really tired enough. Maybe I could, I'll take one tonight.
I'm not really tired enough.
I'll take one. It's like, and then I'm like, Brian, here we fucking go again, dude. It's like,
yeah.
So when you said something like putting on the calendar, and I made a promise to myself, like I won't, like I'll dump it down the drain before I, ever have an issue.
Give it to me.
No, I'm not gonna
just dump it down the drain.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Waste not want.
But it's just funny, like how, because you, like Marjo asked you, like, have you ever used drugs anymore? Like, and you're like, I don't really feel the need to. I have 5 kids. You have 2 kids. Like, sometimes we feel the need to.
Give this man the drugs.
Yeah. Sometimes we feel the need to, or we want to. We want to have fun, dude.
Yeah. Just like I said,
but
all
that
the
is
pressure.
But that is not an option anymore.
Fun is not an option for you anymore.
With substance, no.
Yeah.
Once you make that commitment, man, like even my buddy who I got sober with, he's like, I had a couple beers on New Year's Eve, and I was like, it wasn't a great idea, but
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
It's just like, I wish I could. I use substance like a regular person. I can't. And that was like really hard to admit.
Do you think that if you had do you have a strong community, you'd say?
Yeah, like people in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So, I mean, but like, what need are they not meeting that you feel that you have to?
No, I just like feeling sleepy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like it's not like
you're not trying to escape anything.
No, it's sort of like I mean,
You're just literally like the way it makes you feel.
Yes, I love to be sleepy tired. Like I love that.
Liminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I like to have a couple of sleepy time gummies, and if you just feel like you're melting into your mattress at the end of the night, that's a good feeling. Right. At least for me.
I feel like at 9 o'clock, if I could just be like,
yeah.
Just go. God, it's like Ryan, you feel like that, right? Tell me I'm normal, right? Please tell me I'm normal.
We want to feel like we're part of something, right?
Yeah.
It's not just me.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to shift the conversation towards like for me, like, having a men's group was really helpful and and supportive of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Why do you think men and I guess it's a big question, but how and why do you think men and women process things differently? Like, what's the need for a men's group?
Exclusively men. Yeah. Well, I think that our stresses are somewhat unique and a lot of caused by women. No. But no, and it's not to, I think what does masculinity look like post Me Too? How to rescue, when you have like Andrew Tate and Donald Trump out there, right? It's like, how do you establish,
not get grouped in with that?
Yeah. I mean, and without saying, because we also don't want to like say that masculinity is bad.
Right. Sure.
It just is.
It just is. And also it's beneficial. It's the protective agent, the procreative agent, and the provider agent, There's a lot of, I think, inconvenient truths that are used by people for abuse, right? So like if I were to say that women rely on men to be safe or to be warm, we were traditionally building, hunting and building the domiciles in whatever format. That's the kind of thing that someone like Andrew Tate would take and run with and say like, oh, they need us, and so now I have the liberty to treat them how I want.
That's a terrible conduit for that sort of information, right? Because women, what you just said is generally true,
right?
Like in my opinion, like but you got someone like Tate doing it.
Well, often I feel like people take biological roles and use them in a modern setting to oppress.
Yeah.
Whoever,
in this case, women or whatever.
Yeah.
Saying, well, biologically, this is how it is. Biologically, a man and a woman make a child together. Like, yes, that's all can be true, but that shouldn't be used. That shouldn't be weaponized in a modern society.
Yeah.
Because society has obviously evolved dramatically since we were solely here just for biological purposes, right?
Right. Yeah. And again, that veil is rather thin. If hurricane or something comes by, it's like we're back to square one and trying to figure it out. But anyways, the I think men have a first of all would feel more comfortable, and trying to get men to talk is really interesting. So I do retreats at my house, and even smaller. It started off, we have a sauna on the property, and it's just started off with me and a couple friends, and like they're going through breakups or they're whatever is going on, and it's just a unique perspective unique to men. And then we're like, this feels good, and so many people need it. And so we kind of grew that into like these more retreats, but that are sober, which is an interesting thing because most men, I hear this from them. They said, "I've never even hung out with my friends sober."
Totally.
And I get that.
Yeah.
And I get that. And so people have not shown up because of that. And then they're like, you know what? Next time I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
No, that's great. But you should probably hang out with your friends sober to see what they're like.
Yeah. Do you feel like some of this, like you said, in a post Me Too era, do you think that straight white men in this country are under attack, for lack of a better phrase?
Under attack. I mean, and not overall. I wouldn't say overall. I think that men are struggling, and that's why we had a Me Too movement in the first place. Because the way that like self-harm looks very different to men, like particularly like maybe alpha men, right? The idea of like starting a fight with somebody bigger than you is a form of self-harm. Over drinking, like I was partying, but that was self-harm. And like that void, trying to fill that void with popularity or with whatever. And again, we don't have a culture that supports that fills that void, that says, be patient, and there's other ways of doing this. And that's the psychedelics again. I can imagine a world where I didn't need to do that, and my shaman actually told me that. But I think it's absolutely true. And I'm like, where's my indigenous? Like I'm interested in these other cultures. I'm like, where's mine? And I can hear it in his voice. He's like, it's the Merlin and the Robin Hood and these stories. And so that's what kind of got me on the Kabbalah and more Western esoteric traditions. But in that, I found that there's a great tradition of support that Nietzsche said God is dead, and we've had a purely modern culture since then, and now it's postmodern. So the modern culture would be science and rationality, and then postmodern being like an attack to the grand narratives of patriarchy, of religion, of all these isms, which has progressed the culture, but at the same time, it's created this like amalgam, like nobody really knows where they fit in. Like rap and country are in the same song now. Like we couldn't dream of that growing up, But the generation before us, it was metal and rap, and we had like the whole new metal scene, right? Yeah. So we're evolving, but there's always something new, something improved upon and rejected from the previous, ideology. But there's new problems to be faced. And so I think that the way that masculinity has been kind of been swept, I don't know, not swept under the rug, but it's been kind of just blended in with everything else. Like, so what I'm trying to do is save the baby from the bathwater and just say, what is good and pure about masculinity? What are the benefits of it? And developing that
femininity
among
is
men.
celebrated all the time. So then why wouldn't the reverse of that be celebrated as well?
Yeah. And then I don't want to take anything away from that. My wife does.
Both things can be true. It's like the age old, I know this is an extreme example, but like you can be pro cop and not be racist. Like you can be celebrating masculinity and also know that femininity is just as equally important and celebrated just as much. Like it doesn't exclusively mean because you're celebrating masculinity that all these other 100%. Things must be true, right?
I cannot echo that point more enough. Like it's just when we're to live in a world now when you're pro something, you don't even hear what that person says. You automatically hear you must be anti the antithesis of that.
And the way that this is why I'm very skeptical and even cynical of pop culture, because in order for something to reach that mass, that volume of people, it has to be like the lowest common denominator. And so like, and the way that they phrase things, it's offensive, really. It's like, are you pro-life or pro-choice? And it's like, whoa. Like, like you know, the way that every law is framed, it's like, well, do you like your kids? You know, or not?
Totally.
Like, no, that's not what. I want what's best for my kids. We can disagree on like what we think is best for our kids, but like,
well, I think some of that is by intent. Some of that is propaganda. I mean, it's very intentional to name those movements what they name them.
Yeah.
Right. And like, just because I don't agree.
The marketing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Like other things, like, you know, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I hate you. That's another thing that I cannot.
Yeah.
That's a tough one these days, because for a lot of things, people's opinion are a moral compass now, depending on what the issue is. And I understand that to a certain extent, because when you're talking about people's livelihoods and people's basic human rights, and they think your opinion is trying to take away their basic human rights, I can see why that breeds that kind of contention. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I can see why.
Language, like the idea that language is violence, and it's like, you know, there are scenarios where that is absolutely the case, right?
Yeah, I mean, language isn't violence, but
well, it's like if I have a platform and I'm saying that this group of people is bad and not acknowledging my role. And people knowing that there's people within that are listening that are saying that are thinking that like they don't have the, you know, like, because you got a full spectrum of people, right? So like there's 10% that are psychopaths, like that's just, you know, right? So if some of them take your words and then use that to commit harm, you've inspired them. And this is why, like, I kind of like Eminem never acknowledged his role in like the Columbine shooting, or, you know, like he never said he flat out said, I am not a role model. And it's like, yes, you are, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. We talk about that with Joe Rogan, or I talk about that with Joe Rogan often, who's like, I'm just a dumb comedian, don't listen to me. Well, but you have to also acknowledge the power that your popularity has. Yeah. Even if that wasn't your intent going into it, that's where you're at now. At
some point you have to face that and acknowledge it. And so your sound bites are your sound bites.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't assume that the average listener is smart enough to look at the entire context of the conversation when they just hear a sound bite or something.
Right. But even average.
Well, then where do we draw the line? Because now we're opening up a can of worms with free speech, and then we go into Marilyn Manson in 1996 and his role in Columbine and such, and now who is allowed to say anything? What I mean, listen, I'm with you. I understand, you know. But
I think as a culture now, we've realized that music and video games are not influence. At least my opinion, it's not influencing people to go out.
But Brendan just said Eminem did not take responsibility for his role in Columbine.
Right. For influencing the kids.
Right. Yeah. So
you're right. There is no clear line.
That's the only thing. When I meant words aren't violence, like they're not violence. They're words.
Right. And we need to have a platform for complete free speech. Like comedians are like the last vestige of like, you know, they can say whatever they want. Is it funny? Right. It's not whether it hurt somebody or not. It's like, can we take off the guise of, you know, whatever hierarchy or punching down or whatever, and just be funny. You need that. But, you know, to your point about like music and, you know, when somebody's singing a song, it's not clear that they're in character. Nobody says anything about like Guillermo del Toro, you know, like he's got a twisted mind and he produces these movies, but nobody's like thinking that he's a bad person. It's very clear that he's presenting something that maybe it represents a part of him, but that's not who he is. But when you are your character in your songs and then in interviews and stuff, people, it's more believable. It's people that aren't able to make that distinction. And when we talk about like your average listener, well, it's not just about your average listener. We're talking about the bottom 10%.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, which now, like, you know, with the internet, it sparks like wildfire. So now it's like,
dude, the internet has changed the game, dude. I mean, information is accessible.
Misinformation is accessible.
Yes,
drowning in information.
Influence is exponentially more effective. I mean, yeah. Listen, I'm with you. Bill Maher did a great new rules last Friday in terms about, you know, he's left, he's MAGA, the violence is worse on the left, it's worse on the right. It's like, no, these people are just crazy. All of them, dude, are just. You take someone's life, you are crazy.
Yeah.
You know, dude. Yeah. Period. End of story. We're out of time, but I want to ask you one question. When the government comes and says Tylenol is bad for pregnant women, what is your response? You have 30 seconds. Just kidding.
Oh, I was really curious as to what you were going to say.
No,
Yeah, me too,
no,
actually.
no. I'm definitely. I was kidding about the 30 seconds part.
Yeah, I mean, why are they taking Tylenol? Am I allowed to reframe it as a question? I mean, I don't know. It's like,
are you not familiar with the
Because
story?
they're taking a fever
I do,
reducer.
but when you have, so you have a fever
Yeah.
and you're taking Tylenol, it's hard to say, right?
Well, acetaminophen has been linked to autism,
Supposedly, right?
allegedly.
But there's also not allegedly, there's also factually a bunch of information that says it does not.
And Tylenol also tweeted back in 2017, the company, that pregnant women should not take acetaminophen.
I saw that,
There's a lot of smoke. This is not just.
Well, that's it. We are very quick to jump to a conclusion, and like, what access do we have of those facts? Like, I work with statistics. I know how easily you can, misread a statistic, or I mean, in fact, there's a great YouTube, like how to. No, it's not How to Lie Statistics. That's a book, but like. I can't remember what the YouTube is, but it's like, but there's so many ways to misrepresent information, and then you have to gauge like how accurate the information is. By the time it gets to the public, it's so hard to really suss out what's actually factual.
Yeah. And it's exhausting.
I would,
and that kills motivation.
Yeah, I would look for an herbal remedy that is, I don't think there's anything that Tylenol can do other than that stops like heart.
It's a fever reducer,
right? But is that the thing that you should, if you're starting to have a heart attack, you take?
No, that's aspirin.
Okay. So to me, it's
another.
I haven't taken either of these in like 30 years. But
you don't take pain relief?
No.
Oh my God, that's so wild.
Really? I mean,
you're talking to two people that at the twinge of a headache.
I took
give me the ibuprofen. I need 4 steps.
I took ibuprofen on the way here.
I think,
just in case I got a headache.
I don't think it's so.
But again, it's the toxicity and what else is in it? We don't know.
The problem is it's somebody who's not a medical professional telling pregnant women to tough it out. I think that's the bigger issue. When in reality, many, if not all, obstetricians and gynecologists are going to tell a pregnant woman, if you have a fever, specifically in your first trimester, you need to address it. That is not you need to address it. Whether or not that's with herbal medication or whatever. It's just wild to me that this is the influencing, I don't know.
Yeah, and then even if it was a medical professional, like, what is their motivation, right? Are they getting kickbacks for pushing this medication? Like,
well, Tylenol certainly isn't.
Sure, but there's also thousands and thousands, probably millions of OBGYNs who will tell you the opposite thing of what the president told you. I can tell you for a fact, my sister-in-law is not getting kickback from any pharmaceutical companies for what she recommends to her patients. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you that big pharma is a huge issue in this country, and I'm sure there are medical professionals who use it for personal gain. But I think that's the exception, not the rule.
The thing that's shitty about what Trump said is he's naming the brand. He's not saying acetaminophen.
That's right.
He's saying Tylenol.
It's not a product. It's a brand.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's the shittiest part of what he said, but I'll agree to disagree.
Fair.
I'll agree to disagree. That's not my biggest issue with what he said.
Specifically to the tough it out comment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's shitty too.
What other president in history, like, it's not even worth having the argument.
Right.
Like anything that comes to health and wellness, you have to talk to people you trust. And if Trump is the person you trust, then have at it.
I'll turn into RFK for a minute. Well, we shouldn't be taking Tylenol. I think that. No, not funny. All right, anyway.
I'm laughing.
Yeah.
Are you laughing at him or with him? That's my constant. I hear you. Welcome to my life.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, really great talking with you.
Brendan Tomasi, come back and see us again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.